She's
Hmm.
still here. I don't know how she decided to still be my friend after all these years, but yeah.
We still have to see each other at family functions. Like, there's no way we can fight, you know?
Same thing happened with me where she reached out to me on my birthday, like
Birthdays.
years later. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like years later.
I'm not like saying that, and
I have a lot of
I
friends.
have a lot of friends. No, like,
How this could have been different. Like maybe if I hadn't done this, if I hadn't done that, like we would have still been friends.
so like, here's the tea. Time to spill the tea.
What's up, spammers? We're your hosts, Nyla and Crystal. Today we're here with a brand new episode. Tell me why I forgot what my next line was.
We do this every week.
And somehow we forget. I always
Yeah.
get stage fright. It
Hmm.
happens.
No, yeah. It literally every single week, beginning and end, we struggle.
Right. Oh my gosh. But my gosh.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We already started like early with the stuttering. Bear with me. Aunt Flo is like slowly going away, and I feel like she's draining all of like my last energy and my last brain cells.
I saw a tweet about this literally today where someone, and it was like a guy, and he was like, wait, so you guys get symptoms before your period, during your period, and after your period, which means there's only like 1 week during the month where things are fine, like normal.
No, literally. I feel like there's 1 week out of an entire month where I just feel like at my greatest
Hmm.
and I feel good. Like I even like the way my skin looks. I feel like I'm radiating. I'm like, okay. But then that next week comes and it's like that start of Aunt Flo slowly creeping in. All of a sudden I hate myself. I'm like, my face is so greasy. Like, what is going on? I don't like the way my clothes fit. Yeah.
Like you don't want to talk to anyone, you don't want to do anything, like it all just
Yeah.
hits you, and then that stays for like 3 weeks.
Yes. There's like one good week where I'm like 100% motivated. I'm like, I'm going to change my life. Like, this is the start. And then after that 1 week, I'm already like questioning everything. I'm like, all right, well, this is all for nothing. I'm seeing no changes. Like,
Yeah,
throw me out the window.
that is genuinely how it feels.
hmm Well, so yeah, I don't know what today. I
That's
can't
how
think.
we're starting this episode.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do a quick catch up. Let's just
Hmm.
skip right on ahead. How are
Hmm.
you doing? What has your week been like?
I'm doing good. I'm in the point where I'm like, okay, time to get my life back together. I've been
Hmm.
struggling, so time to, I went grocery shopping.
Nice. Nice.
That's about it.
You got your workout in?
I got my workout in. That's like, I'm so glad that that's consistent because
Hmm.
like I never have to worry about like I don't feel up to working out. Like I always
Hmm.
feel, no matter what time of the month it is, like I'll do it.
Yeah. And
But
that's kind
yeah.
of that's a good thing though, because I know sometimes when people ask me like, "Oh, what did you do?" Like working out never comes to mind because it feels like something that's just so normal and I do it
Hmm.
every single day. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I also worked out."
It's so normal, right? Like what
Mhm.
did I do today? Grocery shopping, and then that's the only thing that comes to mind because
Yeah.
yeah,
Working out's like breathing at this point for us.
I I'm happy it is. Like
Hmm.
it is something that keeps me going.
Hmm. But you've started functional training, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like again my brain being my brain, but I feel like I haven't been seeing changes. I
Hmm.
feel like I've been like maintaining. Like I feel like
Hmm.
I was hitting a plateau, so I was like, all right, time to change some things up.
Hmm.
And again, not a fan of diet culture, so I was like, since I can't change my diet, I guess I should like change my workouts. But also,
Hmm.
I didn't want to stop Zumba, so I was like, okay,
Hmm.
time to add on to it. So I
Yeah.
started functional strength training a little bit, like slash hit. I just put it as
Mhm.
functional strength training. I don't know what that difference is. I'll be honest.
I think functional strength training is more like muscle based.
Hmm.
HIIT workout is more like cardio mixed with like muscle training. So you like lift weights and stuff.
Hmm.
So are you doing more like stationary, like you're just like standing there and you're lifting your weight, or are you also doing like squats, and then you're, like, lifting down like this, where it,
Oh, so
like,
I
beats your
should be
heart
saying
rate.
hit.
You should be doing HIIT, yeah.
Okay, I should change that. I'm actually doing hit
Yeah.
because I'm doing the, like it is intervals. It's like
Mhm.
45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. I
Yeah.
follow
That's HIIT
videos.
workouts. High
Oh,
interval training.
well, maybe I should change that up a little bit.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
probably burn more calories too, like, if you switch the whatever your setting is.
I was so concerned. I was like, "I am sweating, I am tired, but this says I'm not doing much."
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so
Mhm.
you should probably try doing the HIIT
Yes,
from now
next
on.
time I do the weighted workouts, I will try it and see how that goes.
Yes. Alright. Well, something else. Have you watched the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
No.
Me either. I forgot
Okay.
about it.
I didn't forget about it, but, like, I
Mhm.
was literally on Twitter today,
Mhm.
and there was I don't know how. In my muted words, like, I had to go into my settings and mute every single thing relating to, like, the Guardians movies. I
Mhm.
muted every form you could say it, like GOTGV3, like, I muted every single different form. And
Uh-huh.
I'm still getting stuff about the movie. Like,
No
I'm
way.
sorry. I'm so sorry, but Marvel fans, like, the movie's been out for 4 days.
Mhm.
Not everyone can see it within the first 4 days, okay?
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. Like, at least give me a week. I'm
Yep.
angry.
That was very passionate.
I'm kind of angry.
No, I hear you though, because I was also trying to avoid going on social media for the very reason that I did not want to get any spoilers. And I ended up seeing something and I didn't think too much of like about it. I just skipped on. But
Mhm.
now I know if I go watch the movie, like I'll know that something happened because I saw that one thing on TikTok and I was like, no.
Are you
But
planning on going on watching it?
I don't have any plans as of yet,
Mhm.
but I hope I can go see it soon because I really don't want to get any spoilers. So I'm trying to avoid social media at the time, at the
Subscribe.
moment. Subscribe.
I'm also avoiding it as much as possible. My muted words is insane right now. Like, I have James Gunn muted. I have the word Marvel muted because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna see. It's like
Hmm.
nowadays, if you don't watch it the day it comes out, like, you're gonna get spoiled.
Yeah. Well, even then, like Marvel announces the premiere day a day after it actually comes out in theater. Like they always do like the early release.
Early
And so if
release
you
is
don't,
Friday or Thursday, and it
yeah.
technically comes out Friday, yeah.
Yeah, and so if you don't go
Mhm.
see the early release, even, like, you're out of luck. You're gonna see spoilers at some point. Also, how was your May the 4th?
Oh, my May the 4th honestly was really good. Every May the 4th I like. I know it's a special day, like, it's lit May the 4th, how am I supposed to not
Mhm.
celebrate it, even if it's just me? So, like,
Mhm.
every year, like, I'll put makeup on or, like, my outfit will be coordinated to Star Wars, like, I'll do
Mhm.
something, and this year on May the 4th, I went to go watch Return of the Jedi because they re-released it into theaters because it's the 40-year anniversary,
Mhm.
and so this is the movie that came out in 1983. So it's
Oh,
like
okay.
it's a very old movie, and it's like the original cast, and it's like the last of the original trilogy, and I went by myself, and it was like a late night movie, and I was like, "This is amazing." Like, I was so
Nice.
happy in that moment. I was like, "I'm having such a good time."
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm happy for you that
Mhm.
you went out and you did that.
Yeah, thank you. It was honestly it was just so fun being with a bunch of people who also love Star Wars, like a bunch of like-minded people. There were people dressed up. Like, I heard
Mhm.
people quoting the movie, and it was so fun, like, seeing all of us just hanging out at night in the theater watching
Mhm.
an old movie.
Nice, nice. Was it packed?
Yeah, the theater was full except for, like, the bottom row.
Oh, okay.
The entire upper row was, like I had people next to me and,
Mhm.
like, directly next to me,
Oh, okay.
and I went alone, so
Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
know who sits in that bottom row. I only have ever sat there if it was, like, completely sold out and I had no other option.
Mhm. Even then, you look at, like, the other times and try and, like, really find a seat that's nice.
Yeah, you're, like, looking, you're like, "Alright," or, "You know what? We'll come back another day. We don't wanna sit here." Because I mean, you're sitting there with, like, your neck all uncomfortable the entire time, like, how do you even enjoy the movie?
Yeah.
I wanna know from the people who specifically choose those seats, why?
Yeah. Even, like, the bottom row of, like, the upper level, you're still, like,
Yeah.
craning your head up, so why would you sit all the way down there?
Yeah. It's like it has to be like middle up.
Mhm.
That those are the only seats I will sit in.
Me too.
But yeah, all right. Well, I think that was a good little catch up.
Mhm.
We caught up on life.
Yeah, me getting extremely passionate about I'm so angry. You
About
just got my
Marvel.
blood boiling.
Good. You'll be passionate throughout this
Yes.
episode. Well, today we are going to be talking about friendships. All things relating to friendships, friendships that we had when we were younger, friendships we had when we were older, how we were with our friends, all of that good stuff. And for me personally, I like to psychoanalyze people and I like to get to the bottom of it. So I like to start from the beginning because I think, you know, we are the way we are because of how our childhood was, how we grew up, who we grew up around, what we were surrounded by. So let's get to the bottom of this. Let's see
Mhm.
why we are the way we are now. All right. Let's get started with I have a couple of questions here. Just a
Yes.
couple. Just a couple, big ol' list.
That's a we needed, like, a some type of outline, and
Yeah.
Crystal's the master at that, so
All right, let's see. My first question was, how were you as a kid at making friends?
I don't know. Okay, is it well, like, I think you probably feel a little bit similar because you had
Mhm.
siblings growing up, but, like, having cousins was, like, kind of like having built-in friends,
Mhm.
but then also, like, having built-in bullies at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
And so, starting from very young, I was always, like, trying to fit in because, like, my closest cousins to me are all older than me
Mhm.
and, like, 4 years plus older than me, so, like, there was a significant age gap.
Mhm.
And I was always trying to, like, get in and fit in because I was the youngest for
Mm.
a very long time, and then I was kind of neglected a little bit, I was kinda left out, "Oh, she's too little to hang out with us. Oh, she's too annoying," whatever. And so,
Mhm.
like, growing up, I had this idea of I always have to, like, try and fit in. No matter what
Mm.
situation I'm in, I gotta fit in. And
Mhm.
so going into school, I was being myself, but I would always, like, try and I was very adamant about making friends and, like, fitting in
Mhm.
with people. And
Mm.
so it did come kind of easily. There were struggles, obviously, but, like,
Mhm.
I did start making friends pretty
Mm.
easily, yeah.
Well, that's good that you were able to make friends very easily from a young age.
Mhm,
I also am the same way. Well, my cousins that I grew up with were around my age, so I didn't have, like, too much of a struggle with feeling like I needed to fit in.
mhm,
I felt like, on the other hand, like, I was very easily, like, brought in to groups. Like, I never had to put much effort to, like, try to fit in,
mm,
but to fit in, I would keep my mouth shut. And so I would never, like, say anything because I didn't want anyone to, like, not want to be my friend or not want to hang out with me. And so I was always a people pleaser and, like, a follower when I was
mhm,
little. And it was just very easy for me to, I think, fall into friend groups that way because people like followers, people like people who don't say things, people like people who they can boss around, and that
mhm,
was me.
yeah,
Like, that was little me. I'll be bossed around.
mhm,
So, for me, it was easy to make friends. I never had any problems with that, but I never felt like I had close friendships for a while, like, growing up because I was, again, always quiet. Like, I never actually connected with anyone. But how was it for you then, like, elementary school? Because I feel like that was for me, like, kinder, like, 1st grade, 2nd grade, but then I think it started to change for me a little bit in elementary school, which would be what, like, 4th, 5th, 6th grade?
when it came to making friends, I was also similar in the sense that I was a follower, and I think, again, that came
Mhm.
with the whole, like, trying to fit in with my cousins. The only way I could fit in with my
Mhm.
cousins is if I was, like, following and doing whatever they were doing. Like, if I was
Mhm.
myself, then I wasn't fitting in because that's when, like, the word annoying would come up and things like that. And so I also
Mm.
adapted that, like, oh, follower mentality. And so it was
Mhm.
easy for me to make friends, but, like, also similar, like, I wasn't really close. Like, I never had a best friend.
Mm.
I had one best friend, and that was in high school. Before that, I
Mm.
there was never, like, one person who was, like or in middle school, but before, like, in elementary school, I never had, like, one best friend.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you was it like a personal choice you never chose to have a best friend, or
Oh,
like
I always wanted one, but, like, I think,
uh-huh.
that follower mentality, like, I never got close to anyone. I was always, like, scared of being annoying or scared of just, like, people not liking
Mm.
me. So I just kind of,
Mhm.
like, followed people around, and then they would have friends, and I would just be I was always kind of a third wheel.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that was me in middle school.
Yeah, that was me in all throughout elementary. Middle school, I did have a best friend in 8th grade,
Mhm.
and, like, she and I still talk occasionally, so that's pretty cool. But,
Mhm.
majority of my life, I was always, like, a 3rd
Third
person.
wheel.
Mhm.
Mm. My first couple school years, I was a follower, and I was, like, easily sucked into groups, right? Because I was just, like, there. And then 4th, 5th, 6th, I felt like I kinda started to get my own, like, personality, my own friend groups, like, I made my own people. And then middle school, I was just kind of, like, hanging around people that I knew because I didn't actually have, like, an actual friend at my school that
Mhm.
I felt close with. I just kinda hung out with people that I had classes with. And so I always kinda just felt like I was there. And there was, like, someone else that I would talk to during this time because she was also one of the people that was just there. So we just kind of, like, talked, but we weren't,
Mhm.
like, close friends outside of that group. We never really, like, talked or hung out outside of school.
Mhm.
But, like, 4th, 5th, 6th, I felt like that was kind of my little independence era because I used to rely a lot on my cousins because we lived right next to each other. We were with each other 24/7, so I never really had to make an effort to make friends. Like they would do
Mhm.
all of that for me, so I would just kind of like follow along. But 4th, 5th, 6th, I was like, all right, time to make my own friends. I'm like done having people pick my friends for me. And so that's when I just kind of like started being a little confident. I remember we used to like spend half the year here in Arizona, half the year in California. And when we lived in California, we lived in this like apartment complex. And obviously, I didn't know anyone out there. And I was like, I want to make friends because I always thought it was cool that like Zach and Cody lived in a hotel. And I was like,
Mhm.
this is my time to shine, you know? Like, this is kind of like a hotel, but it's an apartment complex, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I gotta make friends. So me and my sister went to the park, and there was this one girl, and she was playing with her dolls, and I was like, oh, that's a cute doll. Like I just went up to her, and then we just started talking, and we literally became friends. She was like one of my best friends for a couple of years. We no longer really talk, but like she was like a childhood best friend.
Mhm.
And then through her, we like met a lot of other people too. And then blah, 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 blah. Through her, I met one of my other childhood best friends that was like my like other half. We were like really, really close.
Mhm.
And we also no longer really talk that much, but she was a good little childhood friend. And then when we would come over here back to Arizona, because I had that little independence where I made my friend, like that gave me a boost of confidence when I came back over here. I did the same thing over here, and then I made my own friends, and that's when I met Ruby, and Ruby is
Aw.
still one of my lifelong friends.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that little era of my life was like my little independent, confident era where I made my own friends. And then in middle school, I forgot about all of that, and I just went back into my shell.
Well, I mean, middle school's, like, kind of the worst place to be, like, you know,
Yeah.
it's just, like, the hormones and everything when you're a middle schooler.
Yes.
The only reason I met, like, my middle school best friend, and we met 8th grade because our middle school is 7th, 8th,
Mhm.
and so 7th grade, I had, like, a couple of friends here and there, like, kind of like I was roaming. So, like, 7th grade, I had classes with some people, whatever, but then 8th grade or, like, in 7th grade, I met her,
Mhm.
and we both like the same band. We both like Big Time Rush, and so
Ooh.
because we both like Big Time Rush, we kind of, like, bonded over that, and that was, like, our thing, and it was just
Mhm.
us. There was, like, no one else in the school. We had, like, some other friends, but, like, she and I got really, really close
Mhm.
through Big Time Rush, and so we were both also in, like, the after school program. We didn't have any classes together, but we were in, like, leadership together, we were in the after school program, so we, like, got, like, very, very close, and, like, we were besties, but, like, still not, like
Mhm.
we weren't telling each other anything personal because we were in
Uh-huh.
middle school. Like, I still didn't know much about her, and she probably didn't know much about me, but, like, we both love Big Time Rush. We both like different members of Big Time Rush. So it was, like, perfect. And, the thing that sucked was I don't know how it is in Arizona, but here, when you're, like, in elementary school, and then there's several middle schools you can go to, and then there's, like, several high schools, and so
Mhm.
there are some people who are together, like, from kindergarten all the way through high school, like, you go through the same school
Mhm.
system. I went to a charter school for high school, so it
Mhm.
wasn't in the, like, same realm where, like, people who I knew from elementary school would have gone to the same school as me. There were a couple of people, but it wasn't a lot, so
Mhm.
a lot of my friends from middle school ended up going to a different school, including her. And so
Okay.
starting high school, I had to, like, make a whole new set of friends because a lot of the people I knew wasn't they weren't at my school anymore.
Mhm. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, is your school, because the way it functions here is by, like, addresses.
Mhm,
So, different neighborhoods go to one school, and then, like, if you live in another neighborhood, even if you just live across, like, the street, but because they blocked it off for you to go to this school, like, you guys can't go to the same school. Is that how it
mhm.
was for you too?
It was similar, yeah, for, like,
Okay.
elementary, middle, like, public school system, that's how it was based on
Yeah.
address, but because I went to a charter,
Uh-huh.
it didn't matter where you lived.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a lottery system, so, like, the school's a very, very small school, like, my graduating class was 100 people.
Mhm.
And so, because it's only 100, you, like, apply and then you get in.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it's not a private school because it's not like you have to pay to go,
Mhm.
but it's a lottery system. So you, like, apply and then you get in and then you can go.
Oh, okay.
But it's,
So
like,
like a
not
college, but you don't have to pay for it.
yeah, but they also, like they're not looking at your application and being like, "Oh, they have this and this and this." Like, you literally just apply and then you're a number and then they pick out your number out of a hat. Like, it's literally a lottery
Oh.
system.
Oh, okay. See, the only thing I knew about charter schools was when I heard about it on the Fosters and they didn't want their school to become a charter school. That's all I knew about a charter school. That was the first time I ever heard about charter schools.
Yeah, it's not as bad as they put it as in the Fosters,
Mhm.
'cause I that's also all I knew for a while, but it's just, like the reason they do that is so, like, there's a better teacher-student communication because there's only,
Mhm.
like, 18 students to 1 teacher, and,
Mm.
like, it's just a very small school, that's why, like, I knew everyone in my graduating class.
Mhm.
Like, I we the all the teachers knew every student's name, like, there was no we're all very tight-knit.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Mm. Well, that's cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
Feel like
it
I
has
learned
its
something
pluses
new.
and minuses.
Alright, so how were you at making friends in school? And I mean, like, did you approach people? Did you let people come to you? How was that for you?
Especially in elementary school, I got bullied a lot,
Mhm.
but usually I would approach people,
Mhm.
and then if it didn't work out, I would just keep approaching, but I kind of also just let it happen at the same time.
Mhm.
So, like, sometimes I'd get seated next to someone, and we just end up becoming friends because we were seated next to each other.
Mhm.
There was a lot of situations like that where, like, I would just be, like, kinda stuck with someone because, like, we had the
Okay.
same classes or, like, whatever, and
Mm.
so we'd kinda just hang out like that. Like, I was in,
Mm,
like,
okay.
after school programs, like, a lot of those things where I would, like, meet people who I would just be with,
Uh-huh.
and
But,
so I
like,
just
those
hang out with
people
them.
that you would just be with, like, would you initiate the conversation, or would you wait for them to be like, "Oh, hi, my name is"
I think it's a good balance of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of times where I would initiate, but there's also a lot of times where, like, someone else would initiate.
Mm,
I was also
makes
very
sense.
talkative, so, like, I would have conversations with just about anyone.
You're just like, "Well, the weather."
Yeah, I just had a lot to talk about as a kid.
Mhm.
So, it was pretty easy to do that stuff.
Mhm.
How about you? Let's hear a little bit more about baby Crystal, what she
Well
was doing in middle school.
well, Middle school, I was very, like, quiet. I would just let people come to me, and then I remember freshman year of high school, I was like, "Okay, I wanna change this again." Like, I don't wanna repeat middle school, and people would say, high school years are the best years of your life. So I was like, "Alright, well, I'm gonna make high school a better season." And so I remember like the first day of freshman year, I was like, all right, I'm going to start conversations with at least one person in every single class. And I did. And that's how like I met people, but they never progressed to like actual friendships. Going back to the whole thing where like people moved with you everywhere, you kind of
Mhm,
kept those friends. And that's how it was for me. It was like those people just kind of moved with me. Some of them did get split to different middle schools, but then we came back together in high school. And
mhm,
so I feel like we just kind of all followed each other and we still hung out. But then that like none of those friendships ever progressed outside of high school. So we just kind of like were like a clique
mhm,
during these like primary and secondary school. And then once we like all left, we just kind of stopped talking. I think we did talk and hang out the first semester of college because it was a community college, and so
mhm,
some of us did also go to community college, and so we just kind of all talked a little bit, but then they, like, slowly started, like, distancing themselves, and we broke off into little different groups.
mhm,
But, yeah, that was just me in high school. I felt like I wanted to initiate friendship, so I did, and then I didn't have to because those friends just kinda kept being there. And then college, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna, again, try to meet some people," and I did, but again, they're acquaintances. Like, I feel like I never really made any friends that became lifelong friends
mhm,
after elementary school,
mhm.
because I still don't talk to anyone that I, like, talked to in college other than Ruby. Ruby's the only person I still talk to, and she was an elementary school friend.
Ruby's that lifelong friend that you made.
Yeah. She's
Mhm,
still here. I don't know how she decided to still be my friend after all these years, but yeah, we're here.
mhm. It's always good to have someone, like, stick with you.
Mhm.
Like, even though I didn't have that in school, I have that in one of my cousins. We literally don't live near each other, like, we live even further apart, and
Mhm.
she's 2 years younger than me. But, like, we're like this, like, to this day, like, since we were little, like, we are,
Mhm.
like, inseparable.
Mhm.
And so, like, she's the only person where I could be like, "That's my, like, lifelong person." Like,
Aw.
I know she's not going anywhere because 'cause I'm not letting her go
Mhm.
anywhere. But it's like she's my person.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, so also, like, the reason I think we are so inseparable and, like, we're related, like, at the end of the day, we're
Mhm.
still family, and I think that's,
Yeah. So
like
even if you guys had, like, a fight, you would still be connected.
we still have to see each other at family functions, like, there's no way we can fight, you know?
Yeah.
We still gotta get together and see each other every Thanksgiving, like, there's no way, like,
Mhm.
I could be like, "I don't wanna speak to you, I don't wanna see you," you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, with other friendships, you can literally go from spending so much time with them to never seeing them again,
Mhm. That's very
and,
true.
like
You kinda just start to go your own ways, and then you just, like, stop seeing each other, but when you have a connection, you guys see each other constantly, it's like it's easier, I think, too, right? To,
Mhm,
like, stay in contact too when you're closer to each other, and then when you're forced to be in the same place too, like, I don't know, I feel like it's easier to, like to stay friends with someone in that sense versus, like, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, and then you just kind of, like, slowly start to forget about each other and, like, further, further, further away.
mhm. It's like those, like, family functions, like, you're forced to see each other, but, like, at the same time, it's like you finally get to see each other after who knows how long because 'cause you're not especially with me
Mhm.
and my cousin, like, we don't live near each other. We would have to drive 2 hours just to see each other. And so
Mhm.
when we do see each other, it's like we have this limited amount of time together. We're gonna spend this time together. And it was like that since we were like babies. Not babies, but like very
Mhm.
young. And
Yeah.
like but even back then, we had gotten so close that we were talking to each other on our house phones. Like she would use her home
Mhm.
phone, I would use my landline, and we would like call each other and like play Club Penguin on the phone together. And
Oh.
so, like, we had started that very early on, and then came the age of, like, iPods and iPhones and FaceTime, and so we always kept in contact. And it was just
Mhm.
like we were always looking forward to, like, when's the next family function, and, like, that's why I think that's the only friendship that's, like, really, really maintained is because luckily we're also family.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of feel it's somewhat similar with me and Ruby, not because we're family, like we're not related, but we live so close to each other and we've gone to the same schools. She did go to a different middle school than me. So there was a time there when we were kind of like separated, but then we came back in high school. So again, it's because we were forced to come back together. I think if like she had gone to another school, I think potentially we could have just like fallen off, right? Because it becomes so hard. Like that's how it was for me with my childhood best friend in California. There's so much distance between us. And she just kind of started doing her own thing. And then I started doing my own thing. And it's like slowly there was just a little bit of distance every single time.
Mhm.
And then now we don't really like talk to each other. But, you know, with me and Ruby, because we're like in the same area, it's so easy to like, "Hey, you wanna hang out?" Or like back then during the like phone call era, we would talk to each other. We used to do MSN Hotmail. Did you ever do
Mhm.
MSN Hotmail?
No, I was too
We would
young.
like oh, okay. That was like
Mhm.
a lit time. We'd be like sending each other messages because it was like a chat style thing.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of fun. And we would just, I mean, we'd hang out all the time and yeah, I'm grateful that we were in such close proximity because again, like we were able to like rekindle that friendship even though there was little distance. But which I have to say, major props to Ruby because she kept this friendship alive. Like she reached out to me. I honestly, if it was up to me, like this friendship would have died because I would not have put in the effort because I would have thought like, oh, she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. That was always my mentality. Like people don't want to be my friend as much as I want to be their
Mhm.
friend. And so I would always be like, "Okay, I'm not gonna reach out to people because they don't care about me. Like they don't want to do anything with me, so I'll wait for them to come to me."
Mhm.
And major props to Ruby. She kept this friendship alive.
And now I there's reciprocation.
Yeah, now there's
Yeah.
reciprocation because now I also like obviously reach out to, which I learned. I learned a lot from her. I learned that, you know, if you want to keep a friendship alive, like you have to like put forth your effort too, because friendship is a two-way street, right? You gotta
Mhm.
keep it alive. So yeah, now we're always like messaging each other. Sometimes she initiates it, sometimes I initiate it, or I'm like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" She's like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" So, yeah, now it's like an even balance, I feel
Mhm.
like. I definitely try to do that now with all of my friendships because again, like back then, I would not. I would just let things die out. But now I'm like, no, if I care about someone, I'm going to like put forth the effort to like try to keep it alive. I'm not going to let it just fizzle out.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I learned that from her, so thank you, Ruby.
Yeah. Thank you, Ruby.
Yeah. I'm grown now.
Mhm. I mean, it takes a lot. Like, I always argue that friendship breakups are probably 100 times harder than romantic breakups. I don't know, a friendship is different, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know, thinking about it, I'm like, there are so many people where, like, just little communication things or, like, just miscommunication or, like, not even communicate like, communicating is such a big part of friendships, and, like, when you don't
Mhm.
communicate with someone, that's usually
Mhm.
when, like, you lose a friend, essentially.
Mhm. Yep. I've lost a couple of friendships that way because there was, like, distance. Like, neither of us put forth an effort, right? Like, I've lost a friendship because neither of us put forth an effort to stay in contact, and then, like, years down the line, someone reaches out and they're like, "Hey, I'm just curious, like, why did this friendship end? Like, did I do something?" I'm like, "No, like, it literally was that neither of us put forth an effort to, like, keep this friendship alive. Like, there's no bad blood between either of us. It's just
Mhm.
literally we drifted apart, and it happens." And then it's also weird sometimes to, like, try to rekindle that friendship because, like, it just feels like there was too much distance between you 2.
If you guys grew distant and there was no effort being put in, then, like, it happened for a reason, and so, like, why
Yeah.
try to rekindle it when, like, everyone's like, "Oh, that's cool," like, you guys can, like acquaintances, like, follow each other on
Mhm.
Instagram, like, see what's up with each other, but you don't have to, like, forcefully be like, "Oh, we should hang out again," you
Yeah,
know?
like how we used to. Like, let's
Mhm.
try to be how we were back then. It's like, no, it's different now.
Mhm.
We've grown up apart. We haven't, like, grown up together, so it's a little bit weirder to, like, come back to friendships that were that way. And yeah, I've also gone through like a friendship breakup that like really hurt where like thought about this person for years. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I've been through a couple of those.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
like cuz that person I was like really really close with. And for me, I always put up walls, or I
Yeah.
used to. Now I'm learning to like openly love people, like not put up walls, but before I used to put up walls. And so to avoid getting heartbroken or like losing another friend, because I would lose a lot of friends mainly
Mhm.
because of moving back and forth. I was never able to really like stay in contact with people. And so because of that, I would put up walls when it came to making friends. I was like, no, like I don't want to get hurt again. And so instead of like just letting a friendship grow naturally, sometimes I would kind of push it away. Like I'll admit to it. I was the person that was kind of like, no, I don't love you, sort of thing. So I would
Mhm.
never like, I don't know how to explain it,
No,
Like I
I
feel like
hate that. I
maybe,
hate the person that you were.
yeah, that's how I
I've been
was.
on the other side of that,
Mhm.
and it's so annoying.
Yeah. That's how it's just like it's hard though. It's just
When you're young,
scary.
right? It's
Yeah.
also, like, the age, because like, when I was in a situation where the other person was kinda doing that to me, and I was like, "I don't understand, like,
Mhm.
why are you doing this? Why are you pushing me away?" Like, I
Mhm.
literally had a friend once tell me, like, "Oh, like, I don't have enough time for this," and I was like, "Okay, like, that you don't need to make time for this, like, we're
Mhm.
in college, like, we're doing our own things, I get it, but, like,
Mhm.
you could put some effort in,
Oh
you
no, that wasn't
know?"
me. That was not who I was. I was not that person. I was the other person that was like I don't know how to explain it because it's like maybe I think in that case I was loving too much, but I
Okay,
had a
so yeah,
wall
we were on
up.
the same side.
Yeah, I had a
Mhm,
wall up, so I would push
mhm.
them away because I was loving too much. That was, like, the first time I, like, was, like, too, like, invested in this one friendship,
Yeah,
and they were like, "I can't commit this much time to you." I'm like, "I don't need you to commit this much time to you." It's just it's weird
yeah,
because the friendship is changing. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
So, like, here's the tea, time to spill the tea, like,
Yeah.
I've had several really bad, like, friendship, like, fallouts that have happened, but, like, this is the one where I was upset for a very, very, very long time. Like, this
Mhm.
person was, like, constantly in my head, gave me an anxiety attack on my birthday, like, I
Bro,
was not
same.
having it. Yeah, dude, okay.
Same.
So, basically, we had been friends since, like, the beginning of high school freshman year, because like, this is when, like, I transitioned to the new high school, so, like, I had to make new friends, and
Mhm.
she became friends with someone I went to middle school with,
Mhm.
right? So person A, person B became best friends.
Okay.
I don't wanna drop names.
I
Um,
know.
so, like, person A, person B became best friends, and then I was kind of like, "Duh, duh, 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 duh." I'm the 3rd person in this group.
Mhm.
Um, and so we were kind of, like, really good friends, and then I met who was my best friend in high school, and he and I were, like, we were inseparable. People thought we were dating. Like,
Mhm.
everyone thought we were together, and I was like, "No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no.
ship it.
No, no, no. No, 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 no. Like, not happening."
Mhm.
And so they kind of, like, since they were like best friends, they were, like, hanging out and doing things without me all the time. They would invite me sometimes, and then I would be there, and then they would not invite me other times, but they would, like, plan it in the group chat and then, like, kind of leave me out. They
What?
would start the planning in the group chat and then, like, not tell me, like, the time or the place. I'd be like, "I'm
What?
down." Yeah. Anyway, so, like, I stopped being friends with them,
Uh-huh.
and so I was, like,
Good.
fully with my best friend. I was like,
As
"Alright,
you
me and my
should.
best friend." And then he moved schools.
Oh, no.
And then he moved schools, and I was, like, so sad. I was like,
Mm.
"What am I supposed to do now?" And then I had no friends. And then I started hanging out with persons C and D. Okay, C and
Mhm.
D were also best friends, and I
Mhm.
slowly crept into C and D.
Mhm.
A and B also
Mhm.
started hanging out with CD and me.
Me trying to connect the dots. A, B, C.
So they also started hanging out,
Mhm.
right? So now it's like a group. And so, mind you, at this point, neither A or B had apologized to me. Like, no
Okay.
one said anything. They just kind of started talking to me again. And then A, right? This is like the person who the story leads to at the end, me and her being like really close. So
Mhm.
A she apologized to me. She, like, sent me this whole text. She's like, "Hey, like, I'm so sorry, like, this all went down, like, I didn't want it to go down this way, blah, 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 whatever." And I was just like, "Alright, cool," because like, my school is so small, like, what am I supposed to do by saying no? I was like, "Yeah, like,
Mhm.
it's fine, whatever, like, past is the past, whatever."
Mhm.
And so, we all become a big group. Senior year rolls around, and A and B, they had this, like, problem with they were in competition with each other. Like,
Mm.
whatever one of them had to do, the other person also had to do.
Ah,
And I
okay.
was never like that with them, so, like, they were kinda doing their own thing, and so it got to the point that, like, they had a really, really, really bad falling out.
Mm.
And so B kind of became friends with this person who I really did not like. I kind of also was like, "I don't wanna talk to person B," and so she was doing her own thing, and then person A and I got really close,
Mhm.
right? And I was kind of like I knew that I was just kind of this, like what's it called? Like, this rebound friendship, like,
Uh-huh.
she had stopped being friends with B, like, she lost her best friend, she had no one else to go to, so she kind of, like, started leaning on me, um, which I was, like, fine with, cause like, we were friends anyway, and so, like, we got really, really close, though, and then we went to college, and freshman year of college, we're fine, like, we're still hanging out, we're, like, still friends, and then sophomore year, she gets a boyfriend,
Mhm.
and this is, like, her first, like, real relationship, like, first boyfriend, and she, like this is when, like, we started drifting apart.
Yeah.
And so she was distancing and I was distancing and, like, we just, like we were growing apart because, like, I felt like she wasn't putting in effort anymore.
Mhm.
And I was kinda bothered by that, but then that's when she was like, "Oh, I don't have time for this," and I was like I was just confused because it's like you're making time like, you make time for the people in your life that you think
You want
deserve your
to.
time. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, like, clearly she was making time for her boyfriend. Like, clearly
Mhm.
she was making time for her, like, college friends, whatever, like, do your own thing, but she wasn't making time for and I wasn't even asking for much.
Mhm.
She just, like, would never reply to me anymore, and I was like, "Hey, how are you doing? You wanna reply maybe?" And so we started drifting apart, and then one day, I was like she kept sending me back when Snapchat streaks were a thing?
Mhm.
So she just kept sending me, like, black screens, and I was like, "I'm over it." And so I
Okay,
started
this is
to
scary now.
I decided I'm gonna break our, like, 300-day whatever streak.
Mhm.
I'm breaking it. I'm done. Like, I'm over it.
Good. Cutting
And
her off.
what she did at this point is what's so hilarious to me. She back this was also when Instagram spam accounts were a thing,
Mhm.
and so she, like, removed me, so I couldn't see her spam account anymore, and on top of that, she removed, like, 2 of my other friends who the 4 of us were, like, in that group. So she
Mm.
removed the 3 people, like me and the 2 other people, so we couldn't see anything. And both
Mhm.
of them were like, "Hey, like, person A, like, she removed me off of her spam, like, I can't see her spam account anymore." I was like, "Neither can I." And then someone else I went to high school with sent me a screenshot of her talking crap about me on her spam account behind my back about how I'm breaking the streak and, like, I expect too much and all this stuff, and she started going
Oh my
off.
god.
At that point, I was like, "If we're distancing ourselves, like, I'm gonna stop putting in the effort
Mhm.
because I'm tired of putting in the effort."
Mhm.
I don't know, we were really close, and then she stopped talking to me basically, right? She wasn't like, the
Mhm.
effort was gone, and then so once she did that, and once I got the screenshot of that, I was like, "No, I'm done." And so, literally, I was like I sent her this she, like, tried to text me and, like, talk to me about it, and I sent her this message where I was like, "Listen, if you are not willing to put in the effort, then neither am I anymore."
Mhm.
And so we, like, stopped being friends, and it was, like it was a lot, like, emotionally
Mhm.
took me out because it was, like, she was talking about me behind my back, like, clearly,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what I had done at that point because I really hadn't done anything,
Mhm.
and, like, I even asked her, like, "Am I doing something that, like do you not wanna be friends anymore? Like, what is it? Like,
Mhm.
just be honest with me," and, like, obviously, there was, like, no communication, and I was like, "Alright, then I'm not putting in effort into something that doesn't deserve my time."
Mhm. Oh,
So,
period.
cut her off, and then I thought about
Oh,
it for
Nayla.
months.
Yes.
Um, and then a year later on my birthday, she messaged me first thing in the morning. It was like 6 in the morning, and I started having a panic attack during my 8 a.m., and I was like, "I'm not having a good time, like, please."
Send help.
But yeah, friendships are tough. Long story, but
No, like, literally, did we stay living the same life. We stay living the
Stop.
same life. Yeah, no, I was in your same position, Nyla, like, the exact same thing.
Thank you.
So,
'Cause
yeah.
I really thought I was doing something wrong.
No, no, no. So, I'm a very grown person now. When I think
Oh,
back to
pettier
this
back then.
moment no, when it yes, but when I think back to this moment, I don't hold a grudge for this person anymore. I understand that maybe both of us had some faults in the reason for why our friendship ended, but
Mhm,
it was very, very similar to yours. So it was also someone I grew up with like my entire life. And same thing happened where we kind of just like distanced ourselves for a little bit because we went to different schools, but then we came back together in high school again. So we got really, really close again. And then in college, we were roommates. I hope this doesn't name drop. Um,
if it did name drop either of us, we
yeah.
didn't no one used any names, okay? We're
Yeah,
not
no one used
using
to
the
know.
people's names.
We can't be sued for defamation here because we did not drop
Yeah,
any names.
and if you know who you are, then or if anyone you know who we're talking about, then you know the tea?
Yeah, shh, keep it to yourself. It's a
Mhm.
secret between us. Okay, so we became roommates, right? We got really close and stuff. And also, she got her first real boyfriend
It's
during this
always the
time.
boyfriend.
It's
It's
always the
literally always the
boyfriend.
boyfriend.
It's always a boyfriend. It's always like the first boyfriend because I feel like maybe they don't know how to balance both, right? This is why I don't hold
Mhm,
any grudge towards her now. Back then, obviously, as like her best friend, uh, I experienced some sort of like jealousy with it because I was losing my best friend to this one guy, and I was like, why, you know?
mhm,
But now I'm like, okay, I kind of understand it. Like maybe she was just how do I say, like, all involved in this one thing. It was, like, her first boyfriend, and maybe she was just, like, head over heels sort of thing, you know? I don't know personally that feeling,
mhm,
so I can't say, like, I would know how to, like, balance it better than she did, but especially during that time, right? We were, like, so young too. So, I don't hold any grudge against her now, but back then, I was losing my best friend, and that hurt a lot, and
mhm,
so because of that, I would shed off. And in my like, what I did wrong in this friendship was that I started pushing her away for that very reason, right? Like, I felt like she was becoming too involved with her boyfriend. She didn't really necessarily have time for me at this point, and I didn't wanna take away, like, her time with her boyfriend, so I pushed her away, sort of thing.
mhm,
But she also did some things during this time where she just kind of like stopped thinking about how what she was doing would affect me, right? Because we were roommates during this time
mhm,
and she didn't respect my space. Like this guy would come over to our room all the time and it made me very uncomfortable, and because she
mhm,
started to lose that respect for me, because I talked to her, I openly talked to her and I said, "Hey, I don't like this. I don't feel comfortable that there is this guy in our room, like, late at night while I'm sleeping, like, who knows what the hell I'm doing when I'm sleeping, you know? Like,
mhm,
I don't want a random stranger in here." And, like, they're wide awake. It's not even like he's sleeping during this time.
mhm.
Like, they're wide awake. They're having full-on conversations while I'm here
Trying to
in this
sleep.
bed next to them sleeping. Yeah. Also, I'm a crazy sleeper. Like, what if I took my shirt off or something when I was asleep? I know that's, like, extreme, but I've done it before. But
Mhm.
anyways, you know, like,
Just what
he
like,
did
it's
not
an
need to see
uncomfortable
that.
feeling.
Yeah, he did
Mhm,
not need to see anything at all. Um, and it just made me very uncomfortable, and I had this conversation with her telling her that I didn't like it, and she continued to do it, you know? So she started to lose some respect for my space, and
mhm,
that also made me wanna, like, push her away because she was no longer the person that I knew growing up, like, she was becoming someone different in this relationship.
mhm,
And so, again, I think both of us were at fault because she was all involved in that one friendship that she didn't, I guess, see how that was affecting everything else around her because I'm not gonna name drop, but it was a very toxic time, like, on her end. I mean, like, we had me and my other friends from college, like, it was a hard time. We felt so uncomfortable because there was a little competition going on, like, there's major tea
mhm.
surrounding this. Like, it's not as simple as I'm explaining
Yeah.
this story.
We're
Like,
telling these
there's a
stories
lot.
simplest form we could.
Yeah, no, like, there was a
Mhm,
lot of drama, like, I'm talking, like, fighting over the same guy type of drama, and it just made everyone else uncomfortable, like, it ruined friendships type of thing. So believe me when I say, I wasn't just being petty because my best friend got a new man. Like, I'm saying this
There
person
was so
changed.
much more, yeah.
So much change.
Yeah.
And so we drifted. We kind of like fell apart. We just kind of like stopped being friends like almost immediately, like from one day to another. It was just like, let's cut each other off. But I will say, at least how I see it, I think we respected each other enough to not talk behind each other's back. Like
That's
we
good.
just distanced. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
because
weren't like
that's when
going
I
around.
get petty, and that's when I'm like, "Okay, like, I'm holding a grudge because of the fact that she was
Mhm.
talking about me behind my back." Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think both of you were like, "That's big of you to not go down to that level."
Yeah, thankfully. I think we had
Yeah.
enough respect for each other that we didn't do that. It just kind of like it fell apart. And then also same thing happened with me where she reached out to me on my birthday. Like
Birthdays!
years later. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like years later
Yeah.
after we like just stopped talking and she wrote me this big old message talking about just like how she was feeling about that situation and she just wanted answers and stuff and I said, "Hey, listen, like I've moved on. I've forgiven myself for what part I played in this. I don't think about this moment anymore because I spent years trying to get over it, like thinking about like where I went wrong and like how this could have been different. Like maybe if I hadn't done this, if I hadn't done that, like we would have still been friends. I've gotten to the point now where like I've forgiven that, I've forgotten that, I've moved on. Like I'm a bigger person now. Like I don't hold any grudges towards you. Like, I know that we were both at fault during this time. I'm ready to move on. And like, I wrote her, I think, a big response, and she never responded back to it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, you just come into like my messages on my birthday,
On birthday,
give
yeah.
me anxiety, and then just don't say anything else. Like, I think all
Yeah.
she did was maybe heart it. I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Anxiety for what?
same. She, like, sent me this message, and it wasn't even a lot. She was just like, "I hope you have a good one today," or something like that. I was like, I think this was her trying to be, like, civil, and I was like,
Yeah.
"There's no civil," but, because I didn't wanna be too petty, I was like, "Thank you," and then she, like, hearted my thank you, and I was like, "Okay, that's it. Like, we're done."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
I
god,
still
the tea,
remember, like,
though.
the last happy birthday and then, like, never wishing each other happy birthday ever again after that. Do
Mhm.
you think we all went through that? Like, everyone just had, like, a really toxic friendship that probably went the same way? I think it usually happens when one of the best friends gets a boyfriend. Like, that's usually
100%.
when they go south. Thinking back to that time, I think they saw it a little differently
Oh,
too.
definitely. It's not the
'Cause I
same.
Yeah, cause like, I think we all experience it a little different, like, we're seeing a different side, they're also seeing a different side. Cause I think, like, the same thing happened where maybe she thought she was putting a lot of effort into, like, keeping us friends, but, like, I felt like she wasn't because also, again, we were, like, close, spending 24/7 with each other. It went from us being 24/7 to now she's spending more time with this one guy, and that's a huge shift,
Mhm.
It, like, it catches you off guard, and so I think that's where, like, it started to hurt me, but maybe she thought she was still putting in effort, right? She was trying to balance both, and that's why I don't, like, resent her for that anymore. Because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, I don't understand it. I don't understand how she was experiencing it." So, why am I gonna be mad at her when maybe she saw it differently, you know?
Mhm.
So, we gotta let that go.
That's also, like, such a good way to think about it. Like, props to you for being like, "Hey, like, every point of view is different."
Mhm.
Because I feel like that's another reason a lot of friendships, like, kind of break off is because one person is so stuck on their point of view that they're not able to
Mhm.
see the other person's point of view.
Yep. And that's only something I learned now. Like,
Mhm.
if you asked me back then, I was also stuck on my point of view too.
Mhm.
But now I see it a little bit differently. I'm like, okay, okay, I understand. Also, like, she would reach out to me multiple times. Like, it wasn't just that one time where she reached out to me on my birthday. Like, she would constantly like bring this up every once in a while. I think like at least once a year. And then she would be like, "Oh, well, let's move on, let's hang out." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm down whenever you want to hang out." And then she would just, like, ghost me. And I'm like, "Why? Why do you
Dude,
keep, like, bringing this up? Like, just to, like, make me feel bad maybe? I
I
don't
know.
know."
That's so weird. That we actually lived the same life. Not us spilling the tea.
I know. Alright. Well, if we're gonna be friends, it's not gonna be hard.
That's, like, honestly one of the biggest things I learned as an adult is, like,
Mhm.
it's not that hard to maintain friendships when you
Mm-mm.
find the right people, like, I have a lot of friends now, like, I don't mean to, like I'm not, like, saying that and
I have a lot of friends.
I have a lot of friends. No, like, not best friends, like, these people aren't, like, super, super close to me, like, people I would tell everything to, people I would, like, talk to every day, but I have, like, a good amount of, like, friends where, like, I would hang out with them every once in a while, and, like, we'll talk every
Mhm.
once in a while. Because adults, you don't talk every day,
Mhm.
it's just not a common thing. But I'm able to, like, reach out to these people and be like, "Hey, let's hang out," and then whenever we hang out, it's, like, a good time, or when they reach out to me, and it's so easy to maintain that
Mhm.
that I'm like, "Okay, so I'm not the problem." Like, those friendships that they broke off were toxic, like, there's a reason they broke off, there's a reason that we don't talk anymore, we're not friends anymore, because I've
Mhm.
maintained friendships, like, I have friends now, and it's
Mhm.
like I used to blame myself a lot. I, like, genuinely was like, "Oh, like, it's I'm the issue," like and then as an adult now, I realize, like, no, they like, whatever happened in those friendships, like, kind of, like it was either bound to happen at some point or, like, there was something just going on, like, it wasn't me doing anything. I think, like you say, it's like both parties are involved, obviously, like, it's not just me that was the issue. There was something
Mhm.
larger that was the problem between both of us, like, one person felt this way, one person felt that way, and that's just it's normal, it's life.
Mhm.
I think when you expect less from people, it's just easier to maintain friendships, and, like, my most recent friendship, like, fallout happened because of, like, someone had too many expectations of me, and I
Mhm.
couldn't reach those expectations, and so we've drifted apart because I can't reach expectations that are set that I'm unaware of,
Mhm.
and so that's why I don't have expectations for the people in my life.
Yes. I think this also kind of comes down to the whole like love languages thing and like what you kind of expect out of relationships because I think people just like want different things, but I think they don't realize that you can't expect people to give you what you want. And so this is why I learned that you can't expect others to love the same way that you do.
Mhm,
But I will say that you don't have to settle for that either. Like, if you want someone that's going to give you more time, go and look for a friend that's going to give you more time. Don't expect your current friend who maybe doesn't really have quality time, right? As like their love language. Maybe they show it in a different way. You can't expect them to give you that quality time that you want because that's just not who they are, right? So if you
mhm,
want that, you don't have to settle for anything less than that, but you have to go and find someone that's going to give you that, right?
mhm.
You can't expect just anyone to give you that.
So it
I
goes
think
with any of the love languages, right? Like, if
mhm,
you're an acts of service person, you can't expect someone to do that for you when
mhm,
they're a quality time person.
yep,
Or, like, if you're a physical touch person and I'm not a physical touch person at all, obviously, like, I'm gonna feel uncomfortable, like, you also should, like, try to understand that,
yeah,
you know? Like, I can only give so much as someone who's not a physical touch it, like, goes both ways for all of the
mhm,
love languages, I think.
mhm. I think that's where a lot of friendships go south is like they expect that from you, but you can't give it to them.
Mhm.
And then they hold this resentment for you because you're not who they want you to be.
Mhm. And, like, the reason the physical touch thing comes up is because, like, again, that I had a friendship fallout recently where this kind of happened. Like, this friend was a very physical touch person and they, like, felt very comfortable with me and it would make me uncomfortable. I was like, "I don't like this." Like,
Mhm.
my space. Do not come in my space. And they're just like, "Oh, like, I'm like, this is just how I am." And I'm like, "You gotta understand, like, that's a boundary that I'm not willing
Mhm.
to cross."
Mhm.
But, like, they had these expectations that I'd be willing to cross boundaries for them, like, that's not
Mhm.
how my type of friendship works, and so
Mhm.
grew apart, you know?
Yeah. It happens, it happens.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we dropped enough tea, Nyla. Let's
Oh,
cut
yeah.
ourselves
Yeah,
off
yeah.
here before we keep dropping more.
Yeah, I
So
could drop so much more, but We'll save that for another episode.
Yes. So let's go ahead and let's end this episode off with something we've learned from these friendships. What's something maybe you've learned about how to keep a friendship alive? What's something you've learned maybe that you maybe needed to change something about yourself? Because I think that, you know, despite what we just said about expectations, I think sometimes you have to recognize that maybe there is something that you need to work on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
is there something that you learned in that case? And then also let's also answer, what have you learned about making friends as an adult? So 3 questions. No pressure.
What was the first one again?
I forgot. Just kidding. What's something you've learned about friendships?
Oh my god, there's so many things. One of the biggest things, I just said it, but, like, you need to know everyone's, like, your friends' boundaries
Mhm. Oh, that's
and
a good
where
one.
not to cross them.
Mhm.
That's, like, something heavy that I've definitely learned. And then second thing, it's a mutual effort.
Mhm.
I think that one's so easy because it's like if someone oh, and then I guess third is then expectations. So, like, those 3 I think go hand in hand because it's a mutual effort. If you expect someone to be putting in a certain amount, then that's your expectation, right? Like,
Mhm.
you can't set those expectations and then get upset about it.
Mhm.
Um, at the same time, you also should be putting in the same effort or the effort that you are willing to put in. Like, you shouldn't
Mhm.
exert yourself. Yeah, the boundary thing is like that's something that I hold very close to my heart because I just think that everyone's boundaries should be respected,
Mhm.
and that goes both ways. Like, I shouldn't cross over anyone else's boundaries and they shouldn't be crossing over my boundaries.
Mhm.
I think that's something that I really, really had to learn because there were some friendships in my adult life where I was kind of letting people cross boundaries just because they needed support and needed love. And although I let them cross those boundaries, I ended up getting hurt in the end. And so
Mhm.
I also have to be true to my own boundaries at the same time.
So, something I've learned about friendships is, I think, like what I mentioned earlier about like learning to love a little bit more openly, like not put up walls as much,
Hmm.
because I feel like that kind of keeps me from getting close to people because I don't want to get to know someone on a deeper level. I don't want someone to get to know me on a deeper level just in case the friendship falls apart. But I've learned to just appreciate the friendship while it's happening and not just constantly be thinking about like, oh, when is this friendship going to end? Like, when am I going to say the wrong thing? When is this person going to say the wrong thing for me? And then we're just going to like stop being friends. So I think I'm just kind of like learning to let friendships flow and like grow as they naturally will, and just kind of remove the whole like expectation thing, right? Like, stop trying to like think about where this friendship is heading. Like, are we going to get closer? Is this like as close as we're going to get? Just enjoy the friendship as it is.
Like, not thinking too much about like what you're saying and how that's going to affect your friendship later on.
Mhm.
Like, what you're telling this person specifically, like, "Oh, I told this person this thing, now I'm gonna have anxiety about it."
Yeah.
Mhm,
I'm trying to not think that way anymore because I feel like that would keep me from like getting closer to people. So,
mhm,
I'm still learning that, but I feel like I'm doing much better with it.
mhm.
But yeah, next question was, what is something you have realized you needed to change about yourself?
So going off of actually something that you were saying, like, I also need to put myself out there more.
Mhm.
A lot of times, I think from childhood trauma,
Mm.
I kind of started letting people come to me,
Mhm.
and not even just childhood trauma, like, even the tea I spilled earlier, like, I
Mhm.
kind of I closed off to the point where I was like, "I'm just gonna let people come to me." Um, I think that was kind of a mistake. I think there's some friendships that I could have nurtured a little bit more. And
Mhm.
so I think the biggest thing I've learned, like growing up, is that I have to also put in effort. I have to reach out. I have to plan meetups. I have to do things.
Mhm.
Um we've said this in past episodes. Like, all my friends know you got to hit me up and I'm always down. And like
Mhm.
that still stands, but I also have to put in some type of effort. Like, I can't just expect everyone to come to me again. Don't
Mhm.
expect things.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I agree. Mine is very similar. Mine is communication, just learning to like communicate more, and not just like the whole reaching out thing, but just learning to communicate like who I am, I guess, right? Like not hold myself back, like let myself be authentically myself in my friendships, like not try to tiptoe around my friendships and like again, say the right thing so that they don't like not like me because I think this way or because I'm sharing my opinion, like just learning to be more how do I say it? Just like I guess just overall communication. Like I don't know
Mhm.
how else to explain it, like just not holding myself back
Mhm.
from being myself 100% in my friendships, because I would do that a lot. Like, I would never, like, open up about who I was. I would never, like, talk about my past, I would just kind of, like, always let the other person do all the talking. Like, I would never, really talk about myself, and whenever the conversation would come back to myself, I'd, like, find a way to, like, turn it back on them. Because I always
Mhm.
thought people wanted to only ever talk about themselves. But I think sometimes people only ever talk about themselves because you don't ever talk about yourself,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know how it is for you, but for me, whenever I'm talking to someone, sometimes I like just fill the empty space. And so I end up talking a lot about something so that there's no like, how do I say it? Like there's no
The silence, like,
yeah, there's no silence between
awkward
us. I just like
silence.
start talking. Yeah. I
Mhm.
do that sometimes, right? When I'm me as an introvert, when I have to be the extrovert in a situation, I just start talking and it sounds like I don't shut up, right?
Mhm.
So what if that's the same way for them? When we think like, "Oh, they only love talking about themselves." But yet take some time to evaluate this friendship. Like, are you also talking about yourself? Like, if you try talking about yourself and then they turn you down and all they do is talk about themselves, then yeah, okay, this person is self-centered. But I've noticed that there were several friendships where I felt like this person only ever talked about themselves, and I realized it was me because I never opened up about myself. And I would always turn the conversation back on them. Like I'd start asking them questions. Like
Mhm.
my answers for myself were always brief, they were always short. I'm like, "Okay, moving on. So let me know more about you," you know?
Mhm.
That's where I went wrong. And so now I'm learning to be like more openly able to communicate about me and
Mhm.
not just like let the other person carry the conversation. I don't know if any of that made sense.
It does. I can completely agree. I feel that way in the podcast. Sometimes I'm like, am I filling the space too much? Am I talking about myself too much?
That's how
Like
I
I
feel.
should yeah. I see that's the thing that's been in my head. Like anytime I start feeling that way, I'm like, wait, Chris will probably feel the same thing. We're okay.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel like that because again, with the whole thing about, like, silences, right? It's like sometimes I don't want there to be silence, or I
Mhm.
think this, like, stems from me making YouTube videos. Like, the space needs to be filled,
Mhm.
and so I do this here, like, on the podcast sometimes. Like, I just start talking and talking, talking, and then sometimes it sounds like I'm talking over you, but it's because I'm just trying to fill space, you know?
Yeah, I don't think we're ever, like, trying to talk over each other. I think we're just kind of,
Mhm.
like, trying to get the f it just happens. But I definitely
Mhm.
understand, like, how you feel even when it comes to talking to other people, like, when people ask me, "How are you?" Like, my auto like, I'm always like, "Good," even though I'm
Yeah.
probably not good at all,
Yeah, like, I'm
Or, like,
fine.
not that I'm not good, but, like, it's, like, so quickly, like, "Oh, like, I'm alright, like, how are you doing?" Like, automatically, like, try and ask them question I do the same thing. Like, I
Yeah.
understand, yeah.
Okay, good. Good that it made sense.
Mhm.
Alright, and then the last question was, what's something you've learned about making friendships as an adult?
I don't know. I think it's just even though it's hard obviously to, like, make friendships and, like, maintain, like, new really good friendships, I also think, like, it's pretty simple. You don't have to be close to everyone you meet, and so,
Yes.
like yeah, and so it's just, like, I don't know, friends are different now. Friends are, like, people you hang out with, people you talk to occasionally, like, it's just, like it's very easy if you just have open conversations and kind of just, like, put yourself out there and kind of be yourself, like, I've mentioned how a lot of my current friends that I've been making are, like, friends of friends and,
Mhm.
like, people I just meet through other people, and it kinda works because I'm like, "Oh, like, we have mutual friends, let's talk about something," and then
Yeah.
you just kinda become friends at that point.
I agree, that's actually exactly what I was gonna say. And so I wanted to, like, kind of, go back to one of our episodes. We were talking about how, like, making friends as an adult is weird because the only place to really make friends is, like, in the workplace or, like, making friends of a friend.
Mhm,
But in the workplace, sometimes it's weird because, like, everyone's a different age too.
mhm,
But I started to learn, and I kinda wanna, like, come back on what I said because I'm starting to learn to just let things flow, right? Like what you said, like, not every friendship has to be close, and this kinda goes with, like, the acquaintances thing, right? Like, in school, like, you weren't really ever close with every single person that you talked to, but you always had something to talk about with them, right? And if it progressed outside of school, then it progressed outside of school. And that's kind of how I'm viewing work now. Is at first I was kind of trying to fight it, right? I was like, no, 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 like I don't. Like I have my friends, I don't need anything else. Like,
mhm,
I was just I was feeling good. But now I'm like, you know, let me stop trying to fight new friendships, new potential friendships. Like, let me just let things flow. Like, if it progresses outside of work, it progresses outside of work. But if it doesn't, then you know what? We're cool. We're just acquaintances. We get along. But I have someone to talk to during the day, and I'm not just like, oh no, I can't talk to you because I don't want to be friends outside of work.
mhm,
So I'm learning to just let things flow,
mhm.
and
It'll
that's how it
naturally
is.
happen. Yeah.
Hmm. But yeah, that's definitely a hard thing to do though now is making friends as an adult. So it's gonna stop fighting making potential friends.
Yeah. I think it's just like again, it's just going with the flow, and it's just like
Mhm.
you never know who you're gonna meet, where you're gonna meet, and how you're gonna become friends, like,
Right.
you really never know, and it's like, I know it's really hard, like, personally, I'm, like, so closed off that I'm like, it's hard to open yourself up, but once you do, it's just, like, endless possibilities.
Yes, I agree. I'm like done being a closed off person. I'm just like, I'm just gonna be me. I'm just gonna openly communicate with people. I'm just gonna let friendships grow if they're gonna grow. If not, then I'm just gonna let them be however they are. We just talk during the workday. We just talk every once in a while. We just talk whenever we meet up at like a hangout of some sort, whatever, but just gonna let things be. I'm gonna stop
Mhm,
trying to like fight things. I'm gonna stop trying to force things too. That's another thing that I've also learned is again going back to the whole thing about like just regular friendships, right? Like if you want a friendship to stay alive, like you got to put forth your effort. I think also like you don't have to force something either, right?
mhm,
Like if a friendship is not meant to be, like you don't have to like go out of your way to like always be the person to initiate and like expect this friendship to stay alive, right? Like you don't have to force it.
mhm,
If this friendship is going to stay alive, again, both parties will like find a way to make it work and it's never going to be hard at all. Like
mhm,
if it's hard, then you got to question this friendship. Like am I putting in too much effort here? Like is this other person not putting in too much effort? It's just let it be. Don't overthink it. Friendships are not hard. They shouldn't
mhm.
be hard. I understand though in a high school mindset, in a middle school mindset, college mindset, like it's definitely different. But as an adult, friendships should not be hard.
Yeah, and even if, like, if you are in high school, you are in college, like, you're younger, just I think communication is the best thing. Like,
Mhm.
be honest with how you feel, and if the person reacts a certain way and you're not comfortable with it, then maybe it's just not meant to be,
Mhm.
because if you're speaking your truth and you're trying to understand their truth, that's a like, bare minimum, right?
Mhm. I agree. Well, that was a good little trauma dump slash like dear diary moment.
Tea session, tea I haven't thought about in a very long time. That's the other thing. Like,
Mhm.
when all this happens, you feel like the world is ending. You're like, "I'm never gonna
Mhm.
stop thinking about this, like, this is gonna be on my mind forever, like, this is ruining my life, like, this is
Mhm.
overtaking my entire being." Literally in a couple of years, it won't matter.
Yeah.
Like, here I am not thinking about like, this person doesn't come up in my regular thought, like, and rarely does it come up in my head, like,
Yeah.
you move on. It
Yeah.
may not seem like it in the moment, but you move on.
Time heals all wounds.
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, that was a fun little episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, for staying here, for listening to us drop the tea, um, recalling some of our traumas.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys can subscribe so you can hear more of our trauma stories. I feel like we talk a lot about our traumas on this podcast.
Yeah.
uh,
Sorry for the spam on the tea that we've been
literally,
dropping. There's so much more
literally.
too. Like that was one
Yeah.
friendship each. Like imagine
Oh yeah.
imagine how many more stories we have.
Yeah, and that was like literally, I feel like a summarized version of it too, right? Like nothing is ever black and white. It's like so complex.
Oh yeah, there's so much more.
Yeah. But that was fun though to recall that. I feel like it's
Mhm.
always good to talk about it too. It's good to like,
Again, yeah.
and then
Once
also
the
to feel
like
understood.
yeah, that's a big thing, but I mean, I was gonna say, like, once the wound is kinda healed, it's good to look back at how, like, that wound would happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yes, I feel so much less alone. I
Mhm.
feel seen.
Yeah, I agree. Like during that time when the wound is still fresh, I feel like it's hard to see things clearly. And again, you see things very one sided, right? You're only ever
Mhm,
going to see it from your perspective. But once you kind of like start to heal from it, you're better able to like look back at that moment and then recognize where you went wrong too. And I feel like that's a big part of like being able to move on and forgive and forget is like you have to take accountability for like
mhm.
what role you played too. Because again, nothing is ever black and white. And so yeah, it was good to recall that.
Yeah.
But like I said, guys, subscribe, like this video. You can follow us on our Instagrams. You can follow us on our YouTubes, and you can check us out on Google Podcast. We're also on Anchor, Spotify. Did I already say Spotify?
No.
I don't think so. Okay. And yeah, I guess with that being said, guys, sorry for the spam.
See you
Bye.
later.